and welcome to Temple of Heat. I'm going to show how we're going to take these parts and make a wall angle for ceiling tile installation. They make a common wall angle that you buy at the home center to put up your ceiling tile, but this one is going to include some LED lighting, so it's going to be a lot cooler, and plus it's going to have crown molding, and then it's going to have some other details that are going to really make it unique. Here's the assembled part, and this really shows how I designed something. I cut up the individual pieces with a plan to see how everything was going to turn out before I go ahead, because there's 60 linear feet that has to go on the wall. So you don't want to guess at 60 feet. You want to guess with just a half a foot. And you want to put it together and see what's going to happen. And what we're looking at here on this part, the wall will be here and the ceiling tile will sit here. So it's assembled from 4 pieces. This one has a notch in it for the LED lights. This one has a bead on it for decoration, and that's the molding. What I thought was interesting, and I didn't plan this, a lot of times on videos I see people make mistakes intentionally because they're trying to show a point, and I understand that, but this just happened. I was nailing this on here, and I don't know if you can see it in the video exactly, but for one, the first way I tried to nail it, the nail is in the wrong spot. You don't ever want the nail to be right on the edge of the molding because it's hard to fill with filler, and once you paint over it, you'll see every single nail. The second nail, I turned the nailer the other direction, and it's in a real nice spot, but both of them, they skipped through the board that I was nailing into, so I'm going to have to be real careful when I put this together to make sure that doesn't happen. And I know I need to use longer nails. This was just a mock-up because I want to see how it's going to turn out. But now what we're going to do is I'm going to cut these 3 pieces that are the backing boards so you can see how I do that process. And our first part is what I call the nailer. It runs along the wall. It's going to be fastened to the wall, and everything is going to be nailed to that. So we have our basic size. What's interesting about this is this nailer doesn't matter at all. All we're going to do is screw it to the wall, and then we're going to screw the part that holds the LED lights to that. So this is a perfect opportunity to use up any scrap that you have. Cutting was what I'm calling the nailer board, and it's the back board that's on top. And the reason I did this is because I had a pile of scrap boards. They were a little wider than I needed, and now there's also another board that goes under here where the light is going to be fastened to. I have enough out of the scrap pile to make all of the light boards that I need. So that's why I did it that way. Whenever you're working with a scrap pile, you always want to cut your biggest piece of scrap first, because then you have your leftovers that you can cut your next piece with. The next piece that we're going to make on this wall angle gives us great opportunity to talk about projects. And there's a lot of different ways people work. Some people have the time, or the project is small enough where you can just work straight through. Get everything done in one afternoon or morning, and it's real nice. A project like this, I'm trying to make 60 linear feet of this, and then I have to mount it on the wall. So I don't have time to do it all at once because of work or life or whatever gets in anyone's way. So what I do when I'm working on something like this is I'll do it one piece at a time. We already made what I'm calling the nailer board. That's all done. I take it all the way down, put it in the area where I'm going to be installing it on the wall. The next step is what I'm calling the light board. This is where we're going to mount the LED lights to. Now, I'll cut all of this next. And what's really great about this is I have enough scrap left over from making nailer boards to make this board. Now, you really don't see it when it's mounted on the wall because it's overhead and behind the board that shows. So I'm still using scrap plywood to complete this part of the project. An extra thing about making up a pattern like this is you take it to the job, you move it around everywhere to make sure things are going to fit, you're not going to bump into a pipe, you have clearance everywhere. But the other thing is you have the leftovers from when you made it up, and you can use that to set up the saw. So after this is done, you don't have to do any more measuring. Let's look closely at the part that we're working on. This is the part that the light gets attached to. So what I've done, instead of leaving it flat, I angled it so that there's a 4-degree angle. It'll shoot back on the wall and you'll see a little splash of light all the way down the wall. How I made that part is right here, and then with the saw unplugged, I'll lower it down till it bottoms out, and I stop. Now I'll move the fence over. And that's a little tight, so I'll back it off just a touch. Still a little tight feeling, so I'll keep moving it. Now, I have all the parts cut to this width right here. So I'll be able to run them all through the saw at this setting. And everything will be equal, and then we'll mount them on the wall and it'll work out perfect. We're putting up the boards on the wall, and it comes from this part right here. This is our sample. This is the part that we're putting up, the backing board that goes on the wall. You can't see it, but there's a pencil line that I put on the wall that's level around the entire room. And you want to make sure before you put anything up, you get the entire perimeter marked out, and that when you get back to where you started from, everything lines up. You don't want to get all these boards up and then realize you're off by an inch when you come back together. You have to move everything. We're following the stud spacing. Now I'll follow the same procedure all the way around the room. And then the next piece that goes on our puzzle is the part that's going to hold the LED lights. So far on the wall, we have the back board installed, and then the bottom board is installed on that. The next piece we're going to make is this decorative trim piece that you see from the room. So it has to be made out of a clear wood, and it can't be plywood, it's got to be solid wood. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it on the table saw and then shape it on the router table. Here's the part I cut. It's just for extra reinforcement, and it's going to go approximately every 4 feet all the way around the room. And it was just some scrap wood, and this molding has a 38-degree angle right here. So that's what I cut this part on. And the way I cut it is I just cut it on a miter saw, 38 degrees, and then I have my other saw set up to cut it off. I want to close out this video by looking at what we started with. We started with this small pattern that we turned into the room trim. This trim replaces the factory product that the ceiling tile manufacturers make. That's just a simple L channel. It goes on the wall, and then you install the tile on it like that. This was my version, and I'm now going to turn on the lights so we can see how they're in there.